Hi, and welcome to another edition of Maverick Sports. As usual, we have a full show. 3 teams made it to postseason play. We'll talk about football. The Mavericks qualified for the NCAA Division II playoffs on November 15th. We'll also look at the soccer team, which went into postseason play back on November 14th. There's volleyball, which plays its NCAA Division II tournament first-round match as we record this show. We'll also check in on swimming and diving, hockey, in both men's and women's basketball, and the men of the mat also return to action. We'll have a special report on 7 seniors in athletics, including one who puts the student in student athlete. Plus, we'll chill with hockey coach Mike Kemp. The Maverick Icemen have jumped out to a 7-2-1 record, and they host Michigan State the weekend that this show is being recorded. And then we'll finish with what's coming up next for Maverick Athletics. But first, let's take a look back. The football team opened a month with a win against Fort Hays State. A season-ending 3-game win streak got UNO into the NCAA Division II playoffs for the 4th year in a row. There were plenty of individual honors in the final month of the season. Troy Cush and Mike Higgins were awarded ESPN The Magazine Academic All-District 12 second-team honors in a vote by the district sports information directors. And Brian McNeil has his name on the Harlan Hill ballot, while Zach Miller won his 3rd MIAA Player of the Week award. Here's how the Mavs played in November. UNO made a 27-point first half hold up in its win over Fort Hays. At Washburn, Miller had a career-high 239 yards rushing while scoring 4 touchdowns, leading the Mavericks to the win. He totaled over 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards passing this season. The win got them into the Division II playoffs for the 4th straight year. They took on MIAA foe Pittsburgh State in Carney Smith Stadium. UNO grabbed its first lead with 13:05 left in the game when Zach Miller hit Brian McNeil on a 32-yard scoring toss. Unfortunately, the Gorillas scored 2 more touchdowns and sent the Mavs home. Meanwhile, the soccer team also had a successful finish to its regular season. They won their last 4 matches, including the 2 they played in November. Don Klosterman's crew secured an at-large berth in the NCAA Division II South Central Region postseason. Amanda Owansky was named the MIAA Offensive Player of the Week for her hand in the Mavs' final 2 wins. One stat that jumps out is that of the 13 UNO wins, 11 were by shutout. Goalkeepers Lauren Fox and Elizabeth Odoricio allowed just 18 goals the entire season, and that ends up being less than a goal per game average. Casey Bigsby won the scoring title with a team-high 6 goals and 16 points for the season. Michaela Hansen led the team with 6 assists. Freshman Melanie Patrick took only 4 shots all year, but she scored on 2 of them. UNO fought cold and wind in their match against Southwest Baptist on the UNO soccer field before securing the overtime victory. Owansky got the game winner 3 minutes into the extra period. Odoricio had 2 first-half saves, while Fox made 3 saves in the second half and overtime periods. UNO ended its regular season with a big surprise win over conference champ and 6th-ranked Central Missouri. It was Odoricio and Fox setting up an impenetrable wall in goal as each stopped 3 shots. Becca Swanson, Lindsey Nealon, and Tara Wegehupt scored the Maverick goals. The Mavs took 14 shots on goal, more than doubling playoff opponent Texas A&M Commerce's shots, and held an 8-2 advantage in corner kicks. The Maverick volleyballers had a busy November, playing their last 6 regular season matches away from home, plus hitting the road for the first round of the South Central Regional NCAA Division II playoffs. UNO went 3-3 in the month, including a 3-game win streak. November also saw a slew of individual honors for Roseshire's group. Ellen Thomas won her 2nd MIAA Hitter of the Week award for her play in the first week of the month. She hit at 45.8% in 3 matches, averaging 5.18 points per set. The junior from Marion High School was also named to the All-Conference 2nd team. Juniors Sarah Kampfschneider and Kayla Jansen made the All-Conference 3rd team, while freshman setter Emily Myers received honorable mention. Here's a look at how things worked out in November for the volleyball team. All 3 wins this month were 3-0 sweeps. In fact, the Mavs had 12 sweeps in their 16 wins this season. Thomas led the way against Missouri Western and Northwest Missouri. She hit .650 while scoring 16 points with 4 digs against Missouri Western. In the win at Northwest Missouri, she logged 14 points, including 7 kills, 1 ace, a solo block, and 10 block assists while hitting .375. Thomas also led the team in hitting percentage, blocks, points, points per set, and kills. Kayla Jansen and Annie Rice tied for most service aces, while Jansen was tops in digs and receptions. Emily Myers was the team's leading setter. The day of this recording, the Mavs play Truman State in the first round of the playoffs. Good luck to them. Swimming and diving team is in the middle of its season and began the month with a pair of wins. You're looking at action from the first meet of the month, a win against Northern Iowa in the Hyper Building swimming pool. Something that happened in July that seems to have gone unnoticed by the general sports public is that Coach Tom Sandlin was named the Midlands College Coach of the Year. Sandlin's team won its second and last North Central Conference title last February. They finished fifth at the NCAA Division II meets. The swimmers opened November with two big wins against visiting Northern Iowa. The UNO swept the 200 freestyle and 200 breaststroke while taking three of the top four spots in the 100 breaststroke and the 50 freestyle. Michelle Benny was unopposed in the diving events. Out in Kearney, the Mavericks opened by taking first and second in the 200 medley relay and continued its winning ways in 7 of the next 9 events, including sweeps in the 50 backstroke and the 100 freestyle. November's been good to the Mavericks, both on and off the ice. UNO is 3-1-1 for the month, plus Eddie Del Grasso was named the CCHA Defensive Player of the Week for 2 straight weeks. Del Grasso is now in second place for all-time scoring by a UNO defenseman. The junior from Las Vegas also leads the team in points and assists. Dan Charleston is second in points, while Thomas Klempa leads the team with 6 goals scored. The Mavericks split their weekend series at Bowling Green, but won their first game of the month with a 5-3 victory on Saturday, November 1st. Joey Martin had 2 goals as UNO exploded for 3 second-period goals, wiping out a 1-0 Bowling Green lead. The Mavs tied Western Michigan, but got extra points for winning a shootout. Joey Martin and Dan Charleston scored the shootout goals. The next night, Thomas Klempa scored twice, while Eddie Del Grasso had a goal and 2 assists in the UNO win. The Mavericks then split their weekend series with Ferris State. In the win, UNO erupted for 3 third-period goals, erasing a 2-1 Bulldog lead. Here's a look at the Central Collegiate Hockey Association standings. The Mavericks sit at 3-2-1, good for 8 points. Overall, the Mavs are 7-2-1. The women's basketball team opened its regular season on Monday, November 17th, but prior to that announced its signees for next year. 4 of the 5 are Nebraskans, with 1, Kylie Harold from Millard North. As for this year's team, the MIAA coaches tabbed the Mavericks 7th in the preseason poll. Coach Patty Patton Shearer has 7 seniors returning. It's still early, having only played 2 games, but 9 players are averaging in double figures at this point. And defensively, Amanda Brodsack has 6 steals already. Alyssa Green leads with 17 rebounds. Here's what's happened so far this month. It was a tough season opener at Kearney as UNO missed 6 of its first 7 shots. Ashley Nelson led 4 players scoring in double figures. She hit for a career-high 20 points and was 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Camilla Brown's 13 points was a career best for her. Alyssa Green and Amanda Brodsack each chipped in with 11 points. Green had 6 assists and Brodsack pulled down 7 rebounds. In its first win of the year, UNO saw all 13 players score. Latoya Wright led the Mavs with 13 points. Amanda Brodsack added 11. Alyssa Green had a busy night, scoring 9 points, grabbing 14 rebounds, handing out 2 assists, blocking 2 shots, and making 1 steal. The men's basketball team opened its season, picked 3rd by the MIAA coaches in their preseason poll. Not bad placing for a team in its first year in the conference. The Mavs look strong heading into the season, although they're without Jerry Bennett and Denny Johnston. 2 big contributors to last year's success, of course, but leading scorer and all-conference pick Michael Jenkins is back, as is Andrew Bridger. Bridger made all-conference honorable mention in 2007. The Albers brothers, Tyler and Mitch, have another year's experience, and a well-known family name returns to the Maverick roster. Freshman Drew Thompson dons the red and black. He's the son of UNO's all-time leading scorer, Dean. He's the nephew of Maverick standout Tommy. And Drew's grandfather, Dean Sr., he got the family basketball experience started at UNO in the mid-1950s. This is what's been happening this month for Darren Hanson's crew. After the trip to Ames, the season started for keeps with the Mavericks ripping Doane by 43 points. Jeff Martin, a Bellevue West product who transferred in from Nebraska Kearney, came off the bench and hit a team-high 18 points. 6 Mavericks hit for double figures. Michael Jenkins tied his career-high 7 assists, while Deion Curry had a team-best 7 rebounds. UNO won its in-state rivalry game at Kearney. The Lopers scored first, 34 seconds into the game. That's the last time they led. Andrew Bridger's game-high 20 points led 4 Mavericks in double figures. Jeff Martin's 15 points all came from three-point land. Justin Peterson hauled in a game-high 13 rebounds. After 2 games, 5 players averaged in double figures, with Jeff Martin the top scorer at 16.5 points per game. Martin also has a team-high 5 steals. Meanwhile, Justin Peterson leads with 17 rebounds. Andrew Bridger has a team-leading 10 assists. At the Daktronics Open, Eastside Dominguez was unbeaten at 149 pounds, while Ross Taplin had 4 pins. A week later at the Nichols Open, Jacob Mars finished third at 197. Well, every season, coaches hope to have 1 or 2, maybe 3 experienced seniors on the team that can provide leadership. But this year, as reporter Felicia Mizadou points out, the Maverick women's basketball team has a surplus of seniors.
You may think of 1 or 2 seniors leading a team into victories, but not for this extraordinary group of women. The Maverick women's basketball team has 7 strong seniors contributing to the team's goals this year, contrasting from last year when there was an absentee of seniors. LaToya Wright, a senior and starter, is astonished by all the leadership.
I just think it's amazing. Last year we went from 0 seniors to this year having 7. And I just think that it's really going to make a difference on the court. We have 7 great leaders.
The presence of leadership last year was less potent.
Last year, that was one of our other problems. We really didn't know each other well at all. We didn't know what each other did. We didn't know any of our attitudes, what makes each other mad, so we kind of just didn't really have good team chemistry last year. But this year, we're all back and we know each other and we just know what not to do.
Camellia, a senior, knows that 7 seniors can also have its disadvantages.
Sometimes it's hard to have so many seniors, and usually there's seniors on the team and they're your leaders, and 7 leaders on the team is not always good, so that could be kind of tough.
But the competition can be very motivating.
There's 5 spots on the floor and 13 players, and we all are competing for those 5 spots, so it's fun.
Coach Patty Scher is very secure within the seniors union this year and is sure their performance will reflect their relationships that they have formed.
Having a year to play together has given them a lot of cohesiveness. They're a really strong group and they have strong personalities, so they have to learn how to play together. And I'm convinced that spending this summer together and spending some time together, they've created a really strong bond.
As Camellia and LaToya prepare to graduate, they both wish the team good luck for next year, advising each player to work hard, play each game like it's their last, and to leave behind a legacy. Reporting for Maverick Sports, I'm Felicia Mizadou.
Thanks, Felicia. As you've just learned, the Maverick women's basketball team is loaded with talented, experienced senior players. But let's focus a little closer on one of those seniors whose outstanding performance goes beyond the court and into the classroom. Reporter Adam Culliff introduces us to hardworking Ellen Majeski.
For Ellen Majeski, school has always been something she has excelled at.
In high school, I graduated top of my class, and then, just working hard and putting in the time studying, I have a 4.0 now, so hopefully finish with that my senior year.
And if Ellen wants to graduate with a 4.0, she knows there are some sacrifices she's gonna have to make.
Sometimes you want to go out and hang out with friends, but you can't always. You have your basketball time, and then after that, you could go out and hang out with the friends and do that, but if you want to succeed in school, you got to put some time in studying as well.
And don't think that managing time between school, basketball, and friends is quite so easy.
Managing school and basketball is pretty tough. It takes a lot of time, but actually it helps with time management because you have to put things in perspective and know when it's basketball time and know when it's study time. And
when it is study time, Ellen takes full advantage.
I actually spend a lot of time a week studying. If we're not in basketball, I'm pretty much studying, so that's a good, I'd say 3 hours a night after we get done with basketball.
So why does Ellen take studying so seriously?
Well, it's my career. I mean, basketball is a great thing. A ton of people have a great time, but you have to know after that 4 years is over that you have the rest of your life and you have to be able to provide and to love what you're doing every day of your life.
So for Ellen, the question is, what's more important, succeeding in school or succeeding in basketball?
Both are obviously very important to me, but succeeding in school is definitely my top priority. Like I said, basketball is 4 years, but school's the rest of your life.
And when Ellen does graduate here at UNO, she plans to take her education to another level.
I am going to attend a 3-year doctorate in physical therapy program once I finish here at UNO.
For Maverick Sports, I'm Adam Call.
Thanks a lot, Adam. Well, stick around because after the break, we'll have UNO hockey coach Mike Kemp live in the studio. First, here's a word about the Maverick Sports website.
Hey Maverick fans, keep up with the scores and activities of all your favorite Mavericks. Go to omavs.com to check the Mavs scoreboard and get the latest news about all the Maverick teams. Get live stats from the games you just can't make and read about all the action when the game is done. Check out the events calendar, sign up for text messages, or download a Maverick podcast. You can even order the coolest Maverick merchandise. You'll find it all at omavs.com. Go Mavs!
Hi, and welcome back to Maverick Sports. In the studio live, it is my privilege to have head hockey coach Mike Kemp. I affectionately call him Kemper, and I've known Mike almost since day one. I've been lucky enough to do Maverick games on television when I worked for Cox Communications. Kemper, gosh, good to see you, man.
Good to see you, Tori.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Well, thank you very much.
You know, I always ask a coach this, so you're not getting off the hook. Has the season gone the way you'd expect it to at this point?
Well, it's gone the way we hoped it would at this point, and now expected it to. Again, you look at your schedule when you start out and try to plot how your course is going to be. But I think we maybe exceeded slightly where we expected to be at this time of year. But we certainly hope to be here, and that's where we're at.
You know, one thing I've noticed about this team, and I went over the stats just to make sure I wasn't seeing something that wasn't there. You guys tend to score goals in bunches. I mean, it's almost like, the best way I can explain it is it's almost like an explosion.
Well, I think as a team, our young guys feed off the emotion of getting a goal.
Sure.
And I think has played a big part in it. We lost a lot of bona fide goal scorers and point producers last year to graduation. Brian Marshall, 150 points, career points. That's huge. And both Brandon Cyril and Mick Lawrence were 100-point producers, which is a milestone in college hockey. And so when you lose that many points in 1 year, you kind of wonder, where is the offense coming from? And we've been getting our offense from a variety of different individuals. I mean, it's been through our roster. Everybody that's been playing has been producing points, which is pretty amazing when you look at it. And it's kind of like, it is an emotional thing. The guys get a goal, and all of a sudden, everybody wants to get in the act. And so it's been a very positive thing for us.
But what you said about it's all through the roster, goals are coming from everybody, that has to help you sleep a little easier.
Well, it does, because going into the year, we were really worried about where the offense was going to come from. We've been a team that's been used to being an offensive team over the last several years. Top 8 in the country in scoring last year, top 2 in the CCHA. This year again, miraculously, it's positively been working out that we've been in that position. We're the #1 scoring team in the CCHA, top 10 offensive team in the country, and I have to say it's come as a surprise.
Okay, let's take that the next step. You're 7-2-1 right now at this point. 5 in 5 of your 7 wins, the opponent has scored first. Now, I know no one likes to get behind early, and sometimes that's happened, but these guys, it doesn't change how they approach the game. We fall behind early, that's okay, we'll win it anyway, and that's what's going on.
That has been probably one of the most positive things that's happened to this team. It's a very resilient kind of group of guys. They don't seem to get too affected by adversity. They seem to react pretty well to adversity and fight through it. And I'm going to go back a few years, in 1990 when we won the national championship at the University of Wisconsin, the second half of the year we gave up the first goal on the first shot on goal in virtually every game down our 18 1-1 stretch to a national championship. So I've kind of gone through that, and right now it doesn't seem to bother us. It's like, okay, don't worry about it, get back on the horse, goals will come. And we've got the confidence to execute that right now.
Yeah, maybe that just goes hand in hand with that goal explosion I talked about earlier. It just seems like, okay, they scored. Okay, now it's our turn.
Yeah, and I think there's some truth to that. We just feel that, okay, we'll get it back.
And I think a lot of that, from a fan standpoint now, I don't know how coaches look at it. I think a lot of that comes from on-ice leadership. So my next question for you, Kemper, is the guys that you look to be leaders, are they filling those roles?
Well, that's always a challenge, and it's always a concern going into every year. You know, we, for the first time in a long time, I didn't have put any bearing on who we selected for team captains and team leaders this year. I left that up to the team, a strict team vote, and the team's responding very well to that leadership. You know, Mark Bernier is our captain. He's a junior defenseman from South St. Paul, Minnesota, but he's been doing a phenomenal job of keeping those guys on task, online. And then our assistant captains, Dan Charleston and Danny Swanson, are following that. All three of those guys do a great job of leading by example, and I think that really helps because the younger players on our team look at those guys and say, well, if they're doing it and having success, well, then I should be doing it as well. And they've done an excellent job of keeping this team on task.
You know, you hear it, anybody who's been involved in any kind of team sport from day one has heard this, and I don't think it ever gets out of style. You need the leaders on the field, especially if they can act as a coach that's in the game. Clearly.
And the other thing, that the extension of that is now for the first time in the history of the program, I have two former UNO Mavs as coaches.
That's true.
With Dave Noel Bernier as our Director of Hockey Operations and Nick Four as one of our assistant coaches. And I think that whole leadership thing, history of the program, it all filters down to the players, and they're buying in on a lot of different levels.
Okay, now we know this for sure. Americans, when it comes to sports, they like high-powered offense. They like a lot of offense. I don't care if it's hockey or volleyball, soccer, whatever it is. But we all know you can't win a game if you can't stop the puck from going to the net. UNO from day one, and we talked off air how I have a special place for goalies. But from day one, it seems we've been blessed with some really good goal keeps, and this year doesn't seem any different.
Well, it's been one of the biggest probably changes in our team this year has been our ability to keep the puck out of our net. Last year we had a high-powered offense, the best power play in the country, but we gave up way too many goals. With a young, untested defense back there, 4 freshmen most nights in the lineup, we really struggled. And our goaltenders struggled with those young defensemen. All of a sudden we've got more maturity at the blue line. Our goaltenders, both Jeremy Dupont and Jared Kaufman, have stepped up and made tremendous strides in their games this year, and that's been probably the biggest difference of why we're 7-2-1 this year from where we were a year ago. We've been able to keep the puck out of our net, be one of the leading defensive teams in the country, and all of that leads to great things. You know, fans, as you say, love offense, they love to see goals, but it's defense that wins games and wins championships.
Speaking of defense, before we get out of this interview, we got to talk about Eddie Del Grasso. 2 weeks in a row, CCHA Defensive Player of the Week. He now is the #2 all-time points leader among a UNO defenseman, you know, career. I don't know, are there any more superlatives we can use for this kid?
Well, he's really made some huge strides in his game. You know, last year he started out slow because he had some health problems over the summer, was hospitalized 3 different times, and really didn't get to train coming into the season appropriately. This past year he's been injury-free, illness-free. He's been able to come back in incredible shape, and it's shown on the ice. This young man's got tremendous offensive talent, but the side of the game that doesn't really get probably the appropriate amount of attention is his defensive game. He's been doing a great job without the puck for us in every sense of the word. You know, he's logging close to 30 minutes on ice every game. That's half the game, and it doesn't seem to affect how he plays from the start of the game to the finish. He is as good a defenseman as we've ever had in this program.
Well, I know that you're getting ready to host Michigan State the weekend that we're recording this, and then Thanksgiving weekend, you're going to be at Ohio State. First, you and your family have a great holiday, have a safe trip, and let's get 4 in a row.
Absolutely, Tori. That's been our mission. You know, we know it's not going to be easy. You're playing 2 Big Ten powers. Michigan State 2 years away from a national championship. But realistically speaking, we look at these games as marquee games from our schedule, and we think we can do just that.
Well, thanks for joining us, Kemper.
Thanks, Tori. I appreciate it.
Mike Kemp, head coach of the Hockey Mavericks. Get out there, watch a game. Don't go away. We'll be back with more on Maverick Sports.
Your city, your news. The Omaha News, a different perspective on Omaha and its people, presented each week by the UNO School of Communication. The Omaha News, Wednesdays at 4 o'clock on the Knowledge Network.
Welcome back. Here's what's coming up for UNO sports teams. The swimming and diving team is at the Husker Invitational in Lincoln, and then they host the Mutual of Omaha Invite the first weekend of December, and then South Dakota's in town. The hockey team hosts Michigan State, then travels to Ohio State for Thanksgiving. Alaska's here the first weekend of December, and then it's back to the road for the Mavericks for a series at Lake Superior State. The women's basketball team hosts the Thanksgiving Classic playing St. Cloud State, and it's on the road to Washburn and Fort Hays before coming home for contests against York and Northwest Missouri. The men's basketball team is at the Alcali Classic in Pueblo, Colorado, taking on Western State and Colorado State Pueblo. They stay on the road to open conference play against Washburn and Fort Hays, and then return to the Sapp Fieldhouse for contests against York and Northwest Missouri. The wrestling team hosts the Kaufman Brand Open, and Mike Denny's squad opens the dual season at Northern Iowa, followed by a trip to Kearney. Well, that does it for this show. Now, you can watch this show again at these following times. You see it there, the 24th, the 25th, 26th, and we even go into December, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So you've got plenty of time to rewatch this show. Well, that's going to do it. So everybody out there, have a happy Thanksgiving. And until next time, hang high the red and black.